Hi there, I'm Jen. This is Remembered Reads, and this is going to be the Paris book tag. This tag was created by Jim from Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff, and I was tagged by Anne Novella, who is a new booktuber. You should check her out. Her content is about 2/3 in English and 1/3 in Dutch. All right, the prompts. Prompt number 1. What is the last book you read that was set in Paris? I am currently reading a collection of Yasmina Reza's plays. Not all of which are explicitly set in Paris, but a lot of them are, it's kind of implied. Because she writes a lot of that if you're not familiar with her work, it's a lot of very theatrical people arguing at dinner parties. But I tend to hate that slightly less. But it's not people arguing at New York dinner parties, which, as you may know, is my least favorite thing ever. Question number 2 is, what words can't be translated into English? And I think here Jim is looking for that some languages have more words for blue and others have more words for snow. But most of the time you can actually translate them, you just have to use more words. So I think it's... however, that said, no, the thing that's hard to translate into English is formality. Because English has this problem in that we've lost the informal thee, thou, right? So we only have you. And you can use y'all as the plural, especially in American Southern English, but it becomes more informal, which the old plural you, which has become both, used to be both the formal and so that you can't have. So this is not even a bookish example, but the weirdest thing recently, I was replaying the Mass Effect series. For fun, I thought I'd put it on in Spanish because I thought one of my goals was going to be to try to decouple the part of my brain that holds both Spanish and Italian and can't differentiate them. I thought, well, if I play Mass Effect in Spanish, I'll get past that. That made it less fun because I don't speak the language, so it was hard. But I liked hearing what the different voice actors were doing. So I switched it to French. And the only person, basically, that your main character uses the informal with is the artificial intelligence, EDI, EDA in French. And that was surreal to me. Like, even your love interest, it's formal. And you can't, there's no way to capture that in English, really. I mean, they can call them sir, but, you know, it's just not the same thing. So that, the single second person in English, is the biggest problem with translating the formal or the plural. So yeah, that exists in so many languages. There's just no, like, how do you convey that in English easily? Question number 3 is, do you have a favorite book in translation? If we're saying a book, well, I mean, I have lots of favorite books that were written in translation, but does that mean the favorite translation? Because I'm not sure about that. I definitely have a least favorite translation. Well, I always say possibly my favorite book of all time was All Quiet on the Western Front, which I did, the first time I read it in English. I have read it in German since then, but yeah, I read it in translation originally, and it's one of my favorites, so that. Question number 4, have you read books in other languages? Yeah, obviously English, because this is an English channel. French, as I just mentioned. More rarely German, more rarely than that, Turkish, and very, very rarely Dutch or Afrikaans. My library got rid of their Dutch section and their Afrikaans section. We used to have the advertising for the Toronto Public Library used to be, we speak your language, 140 plus languages from Afrikaans to Zulu. Not because the world begins and ends in South Africa, just for alphabetical reasons. But they did away with all the South African languages, and also Dutch. Which, I mean, makes sense, because how often do you meet any South African in Canada who doesn't speak English, or any Dutch person who doesn't speak English, or any Flemish Belgian who doesn't speak English and French, right? So the necessity of having books in those languages is, I get that. But so they cut it down. So I think now it's only 40 foreign languages, 40 indigenous languages, and English and French. So it's down from what it was. But yeah, as I said, it's mostly English and French because my German is very rusty right now. And like both my Turkish and my Dutch are like a child's level, and Dutch is sort of buoyed up by virtue of the similarity to English and German. But yeah, that's why if you follow me on Instagram, you'll occasionally see all the Turkish things I pick up are like comics or mysteries, because I don't have a grown-up's vocabulary. It's one of those goals, along with separating the Spanish and Italian one of these days, but yeah. Question 5. Jules Verne studied at law school in Paris. Do you have a favorite book by Jules Verne? No. I think his books are perfect for adaptations into comics or films or TV series or children's versions, but I find his writing incredibly boring. So, no. Question number 6 is, do you have a favorite movie set in Paris? Yeah, I mostly watch, most of the French media I consume is gangster stuff, so it's all set in Marseille. No, I mean, I liked Hate, La Haine from 95, the black and white young thugs kind of, yeah, that's a favorite of mine. Question number 7 is, do you have a favorite French car? I do not care. I'm not a car person. I don't care, so no. Question number 8 is, have you been to Paris? Yes. When was the last time you visited Paris? The last time I was in Paris was probably 7 years ago. The last time I was there for several days to do touristy stuff was 22 years ago. I'm pretty sure my ex-husband still tells people the story about the time I made him walk 6 kilometers to go and see Napoleon's tomb when he wanted to take a coach tour to Versailles. I thought it was worth it. I don't think he does. But yes, no, mostly when I'm in France, I'm not in Paris. France is just this country you have to drive through to get between Switzerland and Belgium. Yeah. Question number 9 is, do you have a favorite French painter or a painting set in Paris? No. Question number 8 is, do you have a favorite French writer? I was going to say I don't have favorite writers because I think you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. Even when they're classic writers, you never know what letters are going to emerge, and then you'll find out, oh no, they were awful. But actually, I really enjoy Riyad Sattouf's work to the point that I read, I had at the library last week, his book about, I don't remember what it's called. I took a video of it, so I'll insert it here, but it's about the film he made, Bogos, about awkward 14-year-olds and how he made Vincent Lacoste a star. And I don't care about Bogos, which I don't know what that was called in the English release. French Kisses is what it was called in English. And I don't care about Vincent Lacoste's career, but I still read that book because I like the way Riyad Sattouf tells stories. And he has a kid's series about this girl, and obviously his autobiographical comics and stuff. But yeah, so I guess I have to say him because I read this movie nonsense that I didn't really care about. So, but I don't really have favorites. So there you go. And that's the last question. Yeah, so next I have to tag someone. I feel like because it's the Paris tag, I should tag Cynthia from Book Whimsy because she is a historian whose area of specialty is related to French history, and has commented before that she'll often see the Eiffel Tower on a book, pick it up, and groan about the bad history. So yeah, you. And also anybody who is watching this tag and would like to be tagged. Yeah, so thanks to An for tagging me, thanks to Jim for creating the tag, and yeah, that's it for now. Ciao.